What's up, guys? Max here. Let's go over the difference between an asset and a liability. There is so much confusion on what both of these things are, and I promise you, what your parents or what school system or whoever's been giving you mal or very bad education your whole entire life has not told you the difference. And the differences are really important because if you want to build a financial future, you have to put the foundation first. And if you don't have the foundation right, which is usually slab concrete, very, 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 very tough to break, you're screwed. So let's put on the foundation right now, figure out the difference between an asset and a liability and what the actual differences are. Let's go. Before we get to what the actual definition of an asset versus a liability is, let's look at how the world and everybody else defines an asset. All right, according to Merriam-Webster, an asset is the property of a deceased person subject by law to the payment of his or her debts and legacies. All right, that's fair.
Asset.
Thank you. One more time.
Asset.
Thank you. And I actually think the only real definition of an asset here is actually two. His wit is his chief asset. Oh my goodness, it's amazing how not true any of this is. Well, let's say it one more time.
Asset.
Okay, so let's go to NerdWallet. NerdWallet is a really good resource for credit information that I've used, but again, assets, cash and cash equivalents, tangible assets, so things you can actually hold, intangible, stocks, bonds, liquid assets, cash, illiquid or fixed assets, fixed income assets, equity assets. It's just really amazing. NerdWallet even doesn't know what assets are. And then let's go to Investopedia. I've used Investopedia. Investopedia was probably the number one source recommended to me during finance school, business school, so take it for what it is. What is an asset? Okay, let's see what Investopedia says. An asset is anything of value or a resource of value that can be converted into cash. Individuals, companies, and governments own assets. For a company, an asset might generate revenue. There we go. Now we're starting to get on the right path. Or a company might benefit in some way from owning or using the asset. Well, okay, that's really not it. Now, this is really how you've been told an asset is. An asset is something you can hold. It's a house, it's a car, it's anything that's worth an amount of money. But that's completely false. Completely false. An asset is really simply this. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket on a regular basis, like monthly, like every month, like every year, every 6 months, whatever that is. It's something that takes money from other places and puts it into your pocket for you to consume. A liability is the opposite. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket you have to pay. So the question is your house an asset or a liability? Well, what do you think? Unless your home actually makes you money, it's a liability. Now, everyone says, but it's an asset. You can sell it for money. Yeah, I don't really care about the long-term capital gains. I don't care about the profit down the future. I intend to hold and keep and hold all my assets, all my homes. Why? Well, it seems like inflation's only going one way right now. So the question is, an asset versus a liability, what is the difference? Well, that's easy to put. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability throws it out. So the question is, do you want to have more assets or more liabilities? So Rich Dad Poor Dad is the best-selling financial book ever. Let's go to that. This is the little graphic that Robert has used, for a long, long, long time. So this is the middle class. This is what you've probably been taught your whole entire life. Okay, so you're paid from your job. You get your income. Your income then circumvents the asset side. Again, asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Your income goes from income and it goes to a liability. Liability is actually an expense, and then it goes out. Now, this is the pooper. This is where all the money that you never see ever goes again. So it's good to get the income. That's a good thing. But the income in the middle class goes to the liabilities, the expenses, and then it's gone. So let's use a real-life example. So you're working your job. You get your paycheck. Very good. You then buy a home, which can be a good thing. You need a place to live. But the home, again, unless you're renting it out for a profit, is a liability. So you get your income, you pay for your liability, which is your home. It's an expense, and it goes by the wayside. Car, anything that takes money out of your pocket is a liability. It's that simple. Now this is what the rich do. So if you want to get rich, this is what you need to do. Build assets, which is in this case, real estate, income producing ventures, whatever it may be that actually creates an income for you on a regular basis. So let's use a home for an example, real estate. So the money comes in from the real estate, the rental, it then goes straight to your income. Now that's a real asset. A home that you don't make any money on, that is not an asset. A car that you drive, if anybody ever tells you a car is an asset, you need to laugh and say, shake your head and be very, very sad for that person because they are totally bought the lie that they need to buy fancy things and buy big things to have assets. The reality is a tiny rental property is more of an asset that profits $200 a month than that brand new Mercedes. A business that creates a significant amount of recurring income, or even not significant, an insignificant amount of recurring income, that's an asset, not a liability. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to have more assets or liabilities? Now, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have a hell of a lot more assets. But that assets takes time to buy, and it's you can't imagine to have all your assets in 1 year. You can create a hell of a lot of liabilities in a year, though. That's what people don't understand. Creating financial future, creating that empire state building, creating that huge tower of financial freedom is not done overnight. It takes a long, long time to do this. So the fact of the matter is, the difference between asset and liability. Quiz time. What's the difference? Asset takes money and puts it into your pocket, and liability throws out money. Figure out the difference. Do not listen to Investopedia. Do not listen to anybody who says an asset is something that is worthwhile, has economic value. That person does not know what's going on. Ask them, how does your portfolio? They'll probably say, well, I have a lot of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, which is good for most people. But the reality is, if you're not investing in anything like this, something tangible that's real, you're going to be in trouble. Because inflation right now, and what is this? It's going to be June 2021. Inflation right now is absolutely insane. The corn I just bought was 75 cents a ear. 3 months ago, no joke, 4 months ago, probably near the beginning of 2021, the ear of corn cost about 26 cents. It's gone from 26 cents to about 75. That's 3 times. The inflation that the government posts is complete rubbish. Do not believe it for one bit. They put jet planes in the basket of consumer goods. Now, I can't say I bought any jet planes the last week, but I bought plenty of milk, groceries, and meat, which have all been skyrocketing. Have you seen lumber? It's absolutely insane. Inflation is right around the corner, and buying assets, not that this is an asset, but this is to protect your wealth. Buying assets that create residual income, that's what I love about real estate. That's where it is. Because you can keep on raising the rents as inflation goes. You can't do that with almost anything else. You can't just say one day, oh, I'm going to sell this for a new price. Well, good luck. Housing's a different story. Housing people always need. So finding something that people really always need, like housing, stick with that. But the reality is this. If you want to actually be rich, you need to create assets. These assets need to go into your income. Because right here, the income as an employee, you pay the most amount of tax. Not even close. It's not even close. Professional athletes who make a lot of money as a quote employee pay a ton of tax, probably around 50%, depending upon what state you live. That's a ton of money. And they usually circumvent that and buy fancy stuff, and then their money's gone. How many people have you seen who've been superstars and then 5 years after retirement they have nothing? That's the usual story. It's crazy. Create the assets. Create something that creates residual income that gives you money every single month, every week, every day, every year. Doesn't matter what the frequency is, but it's something that brings you stuff every single period. So that's the difference between asset and liability. Now I want to hear what you guys think. Is that different than what you were taught? I know it was different than I was taught. I'm glad I read this book when I was a lot more of a youngin', because the reality is a home is usually not an asset and a car is almost always not an asset. So get your definition straight. I will see you guys in the next one.